you guys. So I want to eat away at my TBR a little bit more. So I'm going to read more books on the Goodreads Choice Awards list. My last reading vlog, we read books on the Goodreads Choice Awards list, and we are going to read some more. We are going to start with Olivia Blake's The Atlas 6. This is in the fantasy category. I am going to read this book in this video. It's the first book we are going to read in this video. I actually already read it. So yeah, we're going to read this book. This is in the fantasy category. It's been sitting on my TBR since it got published. Traditionally, that's why I have this cover. I think this cover is terrible, by the way, but I'm going to get right to it and read it. I'm excited to read it. I'm excited to see if it lives up to the hype. The next one is I'm finally going to read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This is another book I also already read, but I'm coming to you now and saying we are going to read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. It is the memoir pick for the Goodreads Choice Awards. It's kind of obviously gonna win. It's gonna win, but this is out of all the categories, this is the one I know for sure it's gonna win best memoir. So yeah, for Jeanette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mom Died, we're gonna read that. The next book after that is Witchling. I haven't read Witchling yet, but for the middle grade, we are gonna read Witchlings. I have heard about this book. It's been sitting on my bookshelf. I wanted to get to it in October, couldn't quite get to it. I want to do a whole witch vlog, couldn't get to it, but this is perfect. We are going to read a middle grade. I try to read 1 or 2 middle grades a year, so it's good to just get this out of the way. Witchlings by Clarabelle A. Ortega. Ooh, I butchered that. The next one is for historical fiction. I did not think I was going to have any of the books in the historical fiction category, but I did, and it is Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. I had this book. We're going to read this book. I haven't read it yet, but we are going to read it in this vlog. And the last book we are going to read for this vlog, and this will complete my Goodreads Choice Awards nominee video, all of that, is How High We Go in the Dark. Yeah, I'm going to read this, and it will be for science fiction, I believe. But yeah, those are all of the books we are going to read for this video. I'm really excited. Like I said, we are going to start with the Atlas 6, so let's get on into it. Hello you guys, to start off this vlog, we are reading Olivia Blake's The Atlas 6. Okay, when this book first began, I was I'm almost done with this book, so stay with me. When this book first began, I was really enjoying this book. I like the light fan. It's actually I don't know what type of fantasy this would be considered, light fantasy, dark academia fantasy. I don't know, but it wasn't really fantastical. In a way it was though. Everything is magic. But anyways, let me just tell you what this book is about first, then I'll get into my thoughts. This book is about 6 people who get invited by a guy named Atlas to come join this magical society where they get to hone their powers. Only the special 6 get to come, and they have been picked because they have been deemed the most the strongest, or have the most potential of the new magic people of society. That's basically the best way to explain it. 6 people go off to this secret school where they learn about all things magic and all about their powers, and when they get there they realize maybe they haven't been told all the information about this school and what they have to do to stay in this school and what they have to do to harness their powers. So you get these 6 people learning about their powers, learning about each other, learning about their relationships, and learning about life through this guy named Atlas, who is a part of this organization. That's what this book is about. My thoughts. At first, I was really enjoying this book. I really was. But I don't know if I'm being critical because this was at first a self-pub book. And you can see the clear flaws that maybe in a traditionally published book there wouldn't be. Or is it just because I'm aware that this was self-pub, that's why I think it. This book knows exactly what it wants to be, and maybe that's the issue. You have all 6 of these characters, and it's on paper they should be interesting. The book is telling you that they're so interesting. You know that the writer of this book is these characters are so interesting. But when you're reading it, you're but are you showing me how interesting they are? This book is a lot of talk. A lot of talk about people talking about how great they are and how great they've done and the things that they could do, they might do. They're at this secret society that we're told is just so great. This library that has all this information that we're told is just so great. These people who are just so powerful. And it's just like, but what am I seeing? I'm 80% done with this book. And like, these people haven't done anything. They have not done anything. Like, we're hearing about all this magic and how great the magic is and what they could be, and we're getting nice flowery quotes and all this information, and everything is so elegant, and you as the reader are supposed to be like, wow, this is teaching me so much about myself and my own potential as a person. But it's like, we also need a story. We need these characters to be doing stuff. And these characters, I don't know if I can use the correct English to explain with these characters. Let's take, what's her name? Her name starts with a P. Paris. What is her name? The girl. The femme fatale, if you will. We have a girl in the book. And she is like, she uses her body to like get into people's minds. Parisa is like our femme fatale character. She uses her sexuality. She's like this Madonna whore type trope, type stereotype, type idea character. That type of thing in a book never works for me, because I know exactly what this book is trying to do with those types of characters. It's supposed to use these like over-sexualized characters to make this feminist statement, like reclaiming your sexuality, reclaiming your being, how you can just bring a man to his knees just with your overwhelming beauty, your overwhelming sexuality. Like, these men just want to have sex with me and they think that's all I'm good for, but I'm gonna get them in the end. And it's just like, it's so late, it's so played, it's so been done before. And it's like, to me, those characters appeal to like boring women who think they are like this woman, but in reality they're nothing of the sort. They're just boring. Like, that character appeals to, like, to me, this is gonna sound so nasty, but Parisa as a character, Parisa is like, she appeals to like middle of the road white women who think they're like progressive and feminist, but really they're just boring and like weird. They're just boring, but they live vicariously through characters who are written that they think they're like, and it gives their life a little bit of excitement. They think they're like that. I don't know, but this character never works for me because I always find it to be so forced. And it's so obvious that character, because she's supposed to be everyone's favorite, because she's so progressive and she's so like girl boss, and like the opposite way you think a girl boss is. She's like girl boss, but make it sex. That's what I would call it. Girl boss, but make it sex. You're supposed to root for her because she's supposed to be your like anti-hero, but in reality she's just like, it's just flat. It's just flat because no one is like this in real life. Like, no one is like this in real life, and the people who are like this in real life are like girl bossy. Like it's just, what am I to cling on to? And what makes her annoying as a character is she has such thick plot armor. She is such whatever the book needs her to be at every single moment. At every moment, whatever the book needs someone to find something out, she's gonna find it out. You guys, I'm not sure if I ever gave an update on the Atlas 6 and my final thoughts on the Atlas 6. I'm giving the book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I thought the characters were really good. The characters were really complex, but overall, just as an overall story, it just didn't really jive with me. The ending didn't gag and goop me. I have no desire to read the next book. It just fell a little flat to me in the end. I just feel like we were setting up these characters, but it was just a bunch of dialogue and a lot of not doing much of shit. Like, I just feel like nothing was really going on. I felt like the characters, although written well, I don't feel like they're anything different than characters I've already read in other novels. So it was just, I don't know. And it was kind of easy to predict what every single character was going to do, not because they were so fleshed out that you knew who they were as a character. More so, you've seen these characters in other books and exactly what they do in those books, so you know what these characters are going to do. I found a lot of the ways that the characters act to be really convenient for the story. It felt like a lot of the characters had a lot of plot armor. It didn't seem like the writer was willing to cut any of the characters, willing to kind of decide if characters were all bad or all good. Like, it didn't seem like there was any clear direction for any of the characters, because like they were trying to wait to see like what the audience would gravitate towards, who the audience would like. And so it just didn't seem like a book that existed in its own binding. It seemed like a book that was very much so up to the interpretation of the reader. The reader would decide what would happen to a lot of these characters based on the fanfare that each of these characters would get after the book was published. Does that make sense? Anyways, that's my thought on the Atlas 6. I am going to move on to Jeanette McCurdy. I'm glad my mom died. I'm actually almost done with that. So in the next clip, we are going to discuss all of Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died, which is nominated for... So Atlas 6 was nominated for fantasy. This is nominated for memoir of the year. Okay, peace.
Hey you guys, so I have read and finished I'm Glad My Mom Died. I'm not gonna rate this book because there's just no point to. It's a memoir about Jeanette McCurdy's life, and like there's just no point to rate it. I will say I think that you should read it if you know who Jeanette McCurdy is. You know iCarly, you know all of that. I loved iCarly, so like this was really like interesting because I thought Jeanette McCurdy was brilliant on iCarly. I'm gonna sit a little bit. You won't be able to say, but I'm gonna sit. You want to know the most interesting takeaway from this book for me? It's the idea that you can be watching someone or seeing someone or knowing someone, and they could be going through anything. In this book, she was talking about how she was on iCarly and her mother was still bathing her, and it's like, you never would think that someone is going through that. It's a thought on how you take what you need from a person and everything else about them doesn't affect you in any way. Like, you're over here like, wow, Sam is such a funny character. And Sam goes home to like a really like toxic and abusive home. And it's just like, you don't really think about that. You don't think about people outside of what you know them for, because it's just, you feel it's none of your business, and it just makes you like take that into your like regular everyday life. Like, you come across so many people you put in certain places in your life, and like they could be anything, they could be going through anything. Like, just take how y'all see me on this channel, you see me on my other channel, and you also may see me on Patreon, but like I could live a totally different life outside. You guys at most see me for a few hours a week across all of those things that I do, right? I don't really post on Instagram. So you guys see me a few hours a week, but how many hours are in an actual week? I could be robbing banks in my spare time. In my spare time, I could be robbing banks. I could be bullying old people. I could be knocking kids over. Like, I could be doing anything, but you guys only know me for this thing. So you feel like you know someone. Like, if someone's like, you know Jeanette McCurdy before all of this, I'd be like, yeah, Sam from iCarly. Of course I know who Jeanette McCurdy is. And I would feel like, yeah, she was a good actress, but like, she has so much more life. And that's just a thought about how everyone is like that. You don't fully know everyone's life unless you live with them. And even people you live with, you don't know what they do when you're not directly beside them. Like, I don't know, when we were just learning things about them, learning things about like behind the scenes of iCarly, like the stuff in her regular life. And another thing I was thinking about before my camera dies, after iCarly went off, I never watched Sam and Cat because
I wasn't doing that. And you just stop caring about that person. Like, you have that person for that thing, and then you just move on with your life. But this person is still dealing with that. It's kind of like in college, like after you stop being in college, a lot of people you just stop talking to. Like, it's just done. Like, they're just stuck in that situation. Like, oh, though that was college, that was them in college. And you just move on with your life, and like, it's just done. Like, that person no longer affects your life in any way. Like, they have no, you go from this person, like, you think about this person, you see this person, and then after the moment that you guys share together, so for us with Jeanette, it's iCarly. For people in college, it's school. After those moments are over, they have no effect on your life, and so you don't really think about them, but they still have to live with all the ways in which they were affected by the thing that you know them for. So, like, all the parties you went to in college, all the maybe, you know, disagreements y'all had in college, all that stuff is what makes you as a person. But you don't know the person after those moments, even though these moments make you. I think about certain conversations I had with people in college that have really affected my life, good or bad. And it's like, but I don't even talk to those people anymore. So, but yeah, that's what this book has made me think about. Just thinking about all the stuff that she went through, and like how I never thought about Jeanette McCurdy after iCarly like ended. Like, I just never thought about her again. It's like, you know, you treat people like that in real life too, you know? But yeah, I'm not going to rate this book, but I will say, if I did have to say something like about this book, the writing in here is really good. Jeanette McCurdy is a really good writer. Like, the prose of this is really good. It's really easy on the tongue. I usually, when it comes to memoirs, don't rate them. I rarely read memoirs, but I don't want to lie, because I gave In the Dream House 5 out of 5 stars. But like, I will rate a memoir if I just feel like it has completely changed my life. And In the Dream House changed my life. Like, it completely, like, it flipped on my head what a memoir could be, what life could be, like what writing could be. Like, and I'm glad my mom died. Though I very much so enjoy it. Didn't do that. It didn't do that, you know. I don't think I would pick this up if it wasn't Jeanette McCurdy. I know Jeanette McCurdy. I liked iCarly. I thought she was brilliant in iCarly. So therefore, that's why I picked it up. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I would have picked it up for any other reason. So, like, there's that on that. I wouldn't have read it if it wasn't Jeanette McCurdy. But that doesn't change the fact that I did enjoy this book. It's just not a rave review, because, like, I don't have any, like, rave thoughts about it. But I did think it was very enjoyable and brilliantly written. So, like I said, I believe 100% it's going to win the memoir category for the Goodreads choice or whatever. So we can move on. What do we want to read next? We can read Witchling next. I've decided we're gonna read Witchling next, even though Witchling would be an easy one to read. So maybe we should get, like, this is sci-fi, and sci-fi scares the shit out of me. So maybe we should do that. And also, I don't know if I'm a historical fiction girly. So Witchling is gonna wait. We should do one of these two. How High We Go in the Dark. We're gonna read How High We Go in the Dark. To get it done with, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. We're gonna read How High We Go in the Dark. I will see you guys with initial thoughts. Okay, peace. I have to give you guys an update on How High We Go in the Dark, because I'm loving it. So this book follows a group of people living all over who are dealing with a virus that is going around and killing people, especially children. People's children are having to be carted away and burned because this virus is really contagious and children are catching it and people are dying. So you're basically just following people who aren't really connected, as far as I know, who are dying from this virus. You have when the virus was like, and it's at different points of the virus that you're following this virus, and you're just really just hearing stories about people trying to cure the virus, people who are dealing with people they love catching the virus. Everyone is trying to help. Everyone is trying to help in their own way. And that's the beauty of this novel. This novel, I think, is about how powerful we can be if we all come together to fight something. How we all might come from different walks of life, have our own beliefs, but like, we're stronger in numbers. I don't know, but this book just is really hitting home. If you need a book about grief, if you need a book about trying to get over terrible things that are happening, if you need a book that's kind of hopeful but a little bit of doom, this is for you. I am nowhere near done with this book, but I'm enjoying it. It's just working for me. You want to know what blows my mind about books like this? That people are so good with words. Like, who comes up with this? Like, yes, obviously in this time, writing a book about a virus is not that groundbreaking because of COVID, but like, in the way that they're talking about this, the most compelling story that we have gotten thus far is about this guy that works at Disneyland. This guy that worked at Disneyland, and before the kids die, they get to experience Disneyland for one more day, and their final ride at Disneyland takes them into like this inferno that burns them and turns them into ashes. They're not like conscious for it. They get hit with, they get a shot and it makes them unconscious and it stops their heart. And then they get burned and then their ashes get sent to their parents. And like, that story was just, I don't know. This is really shaking me to my core. It's so good. So if you have not gotten into How High We Go in the Dark, please do. Because like, every story is so like good. There's a story about a pig in here that is really good. Like, every single story you start it and you're just like, okay, like, here we go. Like, I really like the last story. I'm gonna miss that one. And then you get like, you're like in the next story and you're so compelled and you forget about the last story that you loved. This book is really good. So I'm gonna finish it, tell you my final thoughts, my final rating, but we're looking at 4 or 5 stars. Really like it. Hi, you guys. I was baking donuts today, so I'm like really like dough all over me. It's been a whole thing, but I do want to come and give my final thoughts on How High We Go in the Dark. This is one of those books that like, I'm really happy that I know it exists and that I've read it, but it could never be my favorite book in the world because I don't like science fiction. It's kind of like Project Hail Mary, but I like Project Hail Mary more than I like this book. So like, it's not like Project Hail Mary, but in a way, like, reading this book does not make me want to read more sci-fi. It does not make me want to read more from this author. I'm just very happy that I read this book, and I'm giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was amazingly written. I think the story was done really well. You want to know what I take from this story, or what I loved about this story? It's the idea that there's this virus ravishing the earth and how everyone comes together and deals with those things, and we're learning about the virus through people's reactions to the virus. So it's just about human beings. It's not about the science of the virus. It's not about how the virus is moving from person to person. It's not about the destruction of humanity. It's just about human beings and their feelings, and how love propels the story. How love, grief, triumph, loss propel the story forward. And that's just how life is. Like, everything that's happened in life can be told through love or hate or triumph, victory. That's how, and that's what I loved about this book. At the heart of this book is just about the human condition and how humans interact with one another. The fact that we have gone through a pandemic ourselves, this book, of course, is very timely. And like, it's just a really, really enjoyable book. Do I fully get it? No. That's the thing about me and science fiction. Am I ever fully gonna get it? No, I don't fully get it. I don't fully get it. Does this make me want to read more science fiction? Absolutely not. Like, this book just worked for me. And good science fiction book, I just know, what do I want to say without over talking myself? This book is best in the hands of someone else. This is one of those books on my bookshelf I will 100% let someone borrow, and if I never get it back, I am going to hope that it's because they found something in this book that I personally can't appreciate, because I don't like science fiction. Like, I just don't like science fiction, you know? And so, like, this is never going to be a 5-star review, but for someone else, this book could really send them, no pun intended, to the moon. But I thought this book was brilliant, and not at no point did I want to put it down. Some stories, like, you're following people's stories. Some stories, I'm just like, but overall, I really enjoyed it. And I'm giving the book 4 out of 5 stars. So we have to move on. I think we're gonna read Take My Hand. I want to finish it with Witchling. So we're gonna read Take My Hand. How long is Take My Hand? How long is Take My Hand? It ain't looking short. 350 pages, which is like my max for what I want to read at this time of year. 350 pages. It's historical fiction. So this was the sci-fi. It worked for me. By the way, this vlog, are we looking at a vlog that's becoming a hit? We have a great memoir. We have the Atlas 6, which is fantasy, which I don't read, but I enjoyed. We have Hi, We Go in the Dark, which is 4 stars, but I think it's honestly a 5-star book. I'm giving it 4 personally, but I do think this is a 5-star book just on like, I know how to rate books if I was a real critic, but this is about my taste. And we're getting into this historical fiction, and I think I'm going to like this book. So it's time to get into it. We're going to read Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. I'm excited. Okay, peace. Hello, you guys. I want to give you guys an update on Take My Hand, honestly, before I finish it. Okay, so this book takes place in 2 timelines. We are being told a story by this woman in the present day. She is taking us back to 1972 Montgomery, Alabama. So we are down south, post civil rights, but like burly. And basically, she is telling us this story about what happened in Montgomery, Alabama in 1972 with these 2 girls. And so she's like, I'm getting old. I've had a successful career as a doctor, and I want to get some things off my chest. So she is talking to her daughter, and she's like, let me tell you what happened in 1972 Alabama. So in 1972 Alabama, we have a woman named Sybil, and she basically works at a clinic. She's not fully a nurse yet, but she's on track to be a nurse, and she works at a clinic. And at this clinic, they go around and they give birth control to a lot of the young girls in the area, because teenage pregnancy within young, poor Black people in Montgomery, Alabama is through the roof. So they're like, if we give Black women pregnancy, if we give them contraception, if we give them birth control, they won't get pregnant, and we won't have these kids running around, and like poverty won't continue. That's their whole idea with this. So she is giving this shot to 2 girls who live in this like shack. It's worn down. It smells bad. They're clearly living in poverty. But when she gets to the house, she quickly realizes, whoa, I can't find my words today, that something here isn't right. Like, they shouldn't be living like this. And when she's talking to the 2 girls, she sees that they haven't been taken care of health-wise when it comes to them, their period, getting pregnant, all of that stuff. And so she's just like, that's weird. Let me help you out. So she starts to help out these young girls, but she gets some information about the shots that they are giving to the young girls in this community that leads her on a path of maybe trying to figure out, is there a conspiracy going on? Are these shots actually helping these young girls? What is going on? Okay, my thoughts on this book. Oh, fucking excellent. This book is a historical fiction rooted in truth. This idea of what has happened to poor Black people in the South, the way that the care of poor Black people in the South has been neglected, the way poor Black people in the South have been experimented on. But the biggest thing that's really hitting home with this book for me is the community in this book. I'm getting old, you guys. I'm getting old. And I yearn for community. I yearn for just Black people coming together and helping one another out and being there for one another and all of this stuff. And what this book really highlights is the importance of community, the importance of helping out one another, giving each other information, caring about one another's health, and how if we don't care about each other, nobody is going to care about us. I love that aspect of the book. Everything about this book is working for me. I don't know if it's going to just go off the rails in the end. I don't think so. But this book is shaping up to be one of my favorite books of the year. It just is. It's everything that I love. I don't know why. Maybe it's the cover. Maybe because I didn't fully read the synopsis. It was kind of more of a cover buy. I didn't really see what this book was about. Then it was shoved in the historical fiction category of Goodreads, which I usually don't, and like I just wasn't paying attention because this is everything that I love in books and done so fucking well. I love it. I am loving, like, this is my baby. This has been my baby for the past 48 hours. It's just like, I love it. I can't stop reading it. So like, pick it up. I'm just gonna say pick it up because I just don't see how. I'm on page 209. I don't just see how in the next 100 pages it's just going to go off the rail. It's beautifully written. It's timely, but it's also giving you that historical fiction background. I love fucking Alabama. You don't hear a lot of people who aren't from Alabama say this, but I fucking love Alabama. I love everything about Alabama. I do. I spent 4 years in Alabama for college, and I could have spent more. I love driving through Alabama. I love Alabama. I love the black people I met in Alabama. I don't know. There's so many black people in Alabama, and that's why I don't like this, like, general consensus, like, ooh, Alabama, Confederate flags and rednecks. Like, there's so much history in Alabama, so much blackness in Alabama, and I just love all of that about Alabama. I love the way black people who talk, the way black people from Alabama talk. I love Alabama. I don't think I would ever move back and live in Alabama, but every time I visit Alabama, I love it. I love fucking Alabama. I think if you can go down to Alabama and meet some black people, if you ever have business in Alabama, go down there. It's just, the black people in Alabama are just some of my favorite black people I've met. It just is my truth. So yeah, I'm loving the book. So we're going to wrap that up. Then we're going to do Witchling, and this video will finally end. I've been working on this video for a really long time. So it's just I'm over reading the Goodreads picks. Let's move on to the next video is how I'm feeling. But if we get this a 5-star out of this, it'll all be worth it. Anyways, peace. Hey, you guys. I want to come and give my final thoughts on Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. I'm giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. I think this book is so masterfully made. I think it's so on time, yet being historical fiction. So it's telling the story of historical figures. There's people who lived in history, so they're not historical figures. People who lived in the past. It does both so well, being timely and also telling the story of people, black people specifically, of before, specifically as well, black people in the South. What this book tells a story of is eugenics. This idea that people believe poor people shouldn't have babies, poor people should be almost eliminated from society, that poor people should be considered second-class citizens, that their decisions should be stripped away from them, that people of power, people with money should have more agency in their lives than people who don't have money have in theirs. That's what this tells a story of. This book talks about how sometimes having money, you are able to jump through some of the hoops that other black people who don't have money aren't. How even being white, having white skin doesn't save you from this type of eugenics. This book also discusses community. I think the strongest part of this book is the idea of community. How people coming together and caring about one another can save lives. How other people's burdens are your burdens, that because you guys are from the same class, or you guys are the same race, or you guys just grew up in the same area, you guys do owe each other something. There is something owed. There is a debt to be paid just because you are in the same community with people, and that stuff matters, and that's what drives this book home. Because this book could be very boring. This book could be very surgical in a sense if it was just telling you about how some women in the South were forced to be sterilized. But because at the heart of this story is a woman who has found community with 2 young girls, with these 2 young girls' families, it it tugs on you. There's passion behind it and all of that. And that's what makes this book so brilliant. The idea of chosen community, this idea of being called to action, being called to do something more, that you can't just exist within self. You can't just be like, oh, well, my life is good. I know what's working for me. Let me continue to move in that. Like, there's people who could really use your help. And one small thing could lead to a lot of big things. I would recommend everyone read, if you don't even want to read this book, just going into your bookstore and reading the author's notes of this book, because what this book breaks down, it breaks down in the author's notes this idea of sterilization that happens in prisons, that happens in ICE, so with immigration, that just happens to poor people in the South, and how a lot of this is overlooked because it's with Black women, because it's with young Black women, because that's who are having children. No one cares. No one cares about the reproductive rights of Black women. Black women dying during childbirth, dying during abortions, not getting access to abortions, being forced to be sterilized, being forced to have children, fibroids, all of that. That's what the author's notes discuss, and it gives you some statistics that are just really, really important. And when we are talking about reproductive rights, Black women and what Black women are going through should be at the forefront, because at an alarming number, Black women are losing productive rights, dying during pregnancy, during birthing. All of that is just so important, and that's what this book was a take on. And it was brilliant. It was intentional, it was thoughtful, it was all the things you want in a book like this, and I loved it, and I loved every moment of it. So I am giving this book 5 out of 5 stars with room. I think everyone should read this. You'll learn a little bit, and it's just really sad. It's really sad when you think about it. Here I go on my soapbox that, like, this stuff just happened to people. Like, yes, this is a work of fiction, but this book is loosely based off of something that happened in real life. Like, that's why it really grinds my gears when people say, oh, poor people shouldn't have kids. It's like, those are bigot talking points. Like, you think you're shaking the table. You think you're the first person to say poor people shouldn't have kids. Like, do you know it's eugenics. Like, you're literally just taking bigot talking points and presenting them back to the people you claim to care about. Like, no, there should be aid. There shouldn't be poor people. Like, that's the issue. There shouldn't be poverty. You're giving a cop-out for something that has a clear answer, and that's ending poverty. That's ending poverty. Poor people are allowed to want kids. Poor people are allowed to want kids. And if so many other things were taken care of, we wouldn't get to the point that you're trying to fix. Like, you're letting a lot of people get off scot-free when you say things like that. And really, it's just telling poor people that they don't deserve to have full lives because they're poor, and being poor is their fault. That you don't think that's weird? You don't think that's weird? You don't think that's weird? Anyways, if people just picked up a book, if people who said the things that they said just picked up books, will we be where we are? Will we be where we are if people who say the things that they say just picked up books? You would see that nothing you're saying is new, and how the things that you're saying really hurt people. We're moving on to the final book in this video, because this video has been going on a long time. It is Witchling. It is Witchling. I'm excited to read Witchling. I think this cover art is gorgeous. So we're going to read Witchlings. It's about some baby witches. Some baby witches who I think don't get a coven, and they have to try to form their own coven. But in order to do that, they have to complete a task. Can you tell I already started reading it? I have. Yeah, I'm going to come with my initial thoughts on this when I get a little bit more through.
And yeah, I will see you guys in that. Hello, you guys. I was sitting here drying my hair in my hooded dryer, and I finished Witchling. Therefore, this video is complete, believe it or not. But also, I can come and give you like my initial and final thoughts on this book. I'm giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. So this book follows this like town where everybody is a witch, and before you become a witch you are a witchling, and once you are done with your like witchling training you get sorted into a coven. But at every group of witchlings that come along, some people don't get a coven, and they are called spares. The spares in this society are treated like slaves, child, like slaves. They don't get full use of their magic. They have to work for the other witches because there's different witch like families and like how much money they have. So like the spares work for the rich people. Like it's just the spares get treated real fucking nasty in this book. Like nasty to a point like it's shocking. I just thought maybe they didn't get no goddamn powers. No, they get treated real bad. But anyways, our main character, it is her sorting day, if you will, and she wants to get sorted with her friend Poppy, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna get sorted, but lo and behold, she ends up being a spare with 2 other girls. So they have to form their coven. You have to like hold hands, all agree like we're a coven. But because her spirit is kind of nasty, they can't form their coven of spares because like they're not really all in the game. One of the people she's a spare with used to bully her, so they not friends like that. And so they can't be a coven. But if you're not a coven by the end of the ceremony, the witchling ceremony where you get sorted, everybody lose their powers. All the people who's supposed to be in that coven, they all lose their power. So all 3 of these girls are about to lose their power because their coven isn't formed because they're not solid. So she's like, whoa, wait, I don't want to lose my powers. Even though our life is going to suck as spares, I still want my powers. Like, be serious. So she's like, can we do this impossible? It's called the impossible task, where you and your group, your coven, that's not a coven yet, y'all have to complete a task, and then y'all get to become a coven if y'all complete the task. Most people don't complete the task. Most people have never even done this before. The people who tried to do it last time got turned into frogs. If they don't complete it, they get turned into frogs, and that is like the story of how these 3 girls on the cover set out on a mission to do this impossible task. I loved it. I'm giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book was so much fun. So much so, I don't know if like we'll get another book in this world, a sequel or anything like that, but I have to read it. This book was just so lovely. I just love this idea of like friendship. The world building in this book, though be it a short book, the world building in it is so good. Like, I feel like it's an actual society. I loved it. I have a theory that I don't like books about witches, and this was supposed to be a book that I tried out for a witch video I was gonna do, but this worked for me, so maybe I do like witches. Now I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I think I like books about witches. We'll explore that in 2023. I'll make a whole video reading books about witches, and we'll see if I like witches. But this worked for me, surprisingly so. I enjoyed every minute of it so much. I think I'm gonna pick up more middle grade fantasy. I think I'm not a young adult or adult fantasy. I know I'm not an adult fantasy girl, but I don't think that's for me. But maybe middle grade fantasy is more my speed, because this worked for me. 5 out of 5 stars. So we are going to wrap up this video. I'm going to get my final thoughts on all the books, the Goodreads like thing, because we already know at this point when I'm filming this who won the Goodreads categories. Only one book I read won the Goodreads Choice Awards category, and it's Jeanette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I don't remember anything, so only one book I read won Goodreads, but 5 out of 5 stars, which is good. So that means we got 2 5 out of 5 stars. We'll talk about that in the wrap-up clip. Okay, peace. Okay, you guys, we are done with this video. I feel like I've been working on this video for literally years, but we are done with this video, and it was not for nothing. We read some good books in this video. At the beginning of the clip, I've already edited the video up until this point. I said I already read the books. I meant I already read them in the moment I was filming that clip, not like I already read them in general. I filmed that clip
after I had already filmed other clips in the video, if that makes sense. So don't think I came in here already reading the Atlas 6 and already reading I'm Glad My Mom Died. Like, no, I already read them by the time I was sitting on the floor and making the intro for this video. Sometimes I make the intro for my videos after I've already filmed some things for the clips, because sometimes you have to, this is how you know behind the curtain. Sometimes you have to know you're going to enjoy some books in the video to keep the video going. Like sometimes you like chest out books and you're like, okay, I'm liking these. Okay, I'll commit to making the video. So then you go make your intro. Sometimes that's how it works. But anyways, we did start by reading the Atlas 6. I am good with my rating on this. I gave this book 3 stars. Will I be continuing in the series? I will not. It's not something pressing. If someone gifts it to me or it gets sent to me, I don't even get book mail, but if it were to get sent to me, sure, I will read it, but I don't think I'm going to pick up the next one. I am perfectly fine with this being my reading of the Atlas 6. It just didn't fully work for me. The story just didn't really hook me up until the end, all the way through to the end. And so I'm good. 3 out of 5 stars. I never expected it to be a 5 out of 5 star, but like I would have been surprised if it was, and it would have been a nice surprise. But 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that we read was I'm Glad My Mom Died. Really good memoir. I think the most shocking thing for me in this book is just how well written it was. I never thought Jeanette McCurdy was untalented, but like this is just written really well, really easy to follow. I very much so enjoyed it. This did win the Goodreads memoir pick, so like we did read a winner in this video. This is the only book that I read for these past 2 Goodreads videos that won. So like we did read a winner, and yeah, I gave this book, I didn't rate this book, but it was really interesting. Everyone has said what needs to be said about this book. So like, yeah, get your hands on it if you haven't, and I wish Jeanette McCurdy all the best. The next book that we read was How High We Go in the Dark. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This book, I'll go to that part of the book if you want to, that part of the video if you want to know what these books are about. But this book, you know, I'm not a sci-fi girly. I found a lot of the stories in this book to be really compelling. Although my biggest gripe about this book now on reflection, it's repetitive. Like you get the purpose of the book rather quickly, and then that purpose keeps getting, like you keep getting beat over the head with that purpose, and so at the end you're ready for it to end. That's what I will say about this book. I was like, why did I give this a 4 out of 5? And it's a 4 leaning more 3.5 than a 4 leaning more 4.5. It's because this book does beat you over the head with the point of the book, and it does become a little bit repetitive after a while, but I still give it 4 out of 5 stars. Will I be reading more from this author? Maybe, but it's nothing I'm searching for. Will I be reading more science fiction? Also, no, nothing I'll be searching for, but I'm happy I read it. The next book that we read, in my opinion, was the best book in this video, which my opinion is the only opinion that matters on that, because guess what? It's my video. It is Take My Hand. I'm giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely brilliant. If you have not gotten your hands on this, please do. This book will probably show up in my best books of 2022. I haven't filmed that video yet. I might film it tomorrow, but then I'm worried because like I still have 2 more videos I want to film for this channel for the next until January 1st, and I'm worried that like what if I get a book that I love and it doesn't make it? Like it's supposed to be in my best books of the year, but I can't tell you because I already filmed the video, so I'm worried. But Take My Hand was absolutely brilliant. I still think it's a 5 out of 5 stars, even though I read it like a week ago. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Lastly, we have Witchling. This is the most surprising, probably 5 out of 5 stars, because like I thought I was going to enjoy it, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I love these little girls. These my little sis. Like these my sisters. These my little sisters. I love them. This is a middle grade book about witches, and it was a great read. It was a great short read. It doesn't look that short, but the words on the page are very middle grade. Like they're huge. Loved it. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars. So overall, this is our vlog. I think it's a successful vlog. Do I think the Goodreads categories got it right this year? No, because I've told you 2 5-star books that didn't win. I think the Goodreads has to get better at the books they pick in the categories, but like maybe this just not my taste. Maybe the overall consensus, I'm just not I'm just not in that number, you know? Like, maybe it is getting a good sample size of what people like this year. Just not what I like. So anyways, that is the end of this video. I will see you guys in the next one.